losing control? I'm gonna show you how we lose control, baby. Watch this. Look, Marty Mark. Watch the way I start up. I've been going hard, but I can go way harder. Every beat I'm on, yeah, you know that I slaughter. And I'm always looking gorgeous, chilling with somebody's daughter. Yeah, she loving me. Say she love the way my chain sitting contemplate. And of course it says my name if you wanna wait. To let you know who's finna blow. Always win and check the scope. I'm only losing control. Oh. I like losing control. I get high when I'm feeling a flow. My mind is focused and I'm ready to go. Ready to go. Nah, nah.
Panthers have the table set. It's time to put their teamwork to the test. Can the Terps be lulled to rest? But they can sing and they can dance. After all, you can take a glance at a cat v Terrapin battle. That is never just second best. You're along for the ride. To be our guest, be our guest. Hello, UNI Panther fans and Overwatch fans alike. Welcome to Week 5 of the PCL Central 2 Division regular season. Tonight, your 1-3 University of Northern Iowa Panthers from Cedar Falls, Iowa, will play another Big Ten opponent, the 1-3 Maryland Terrapins from College Park, Maryland. Thank you for being our guest of honor on this Wednesday night. Bill is in production, Joe is in the booth, and my name is Hunter. Joe, how are you doing tonight?
Hunter, thank you for that awesome intro. I'm doing pretty good. I'm excited for tonight. I think UNI is pretty hungry for a win. Unless I'm wrong, they are 1-3 this season. Am I correct in that?
You are correct in that, Joe.
Yeah, and I saw in their Discord team chat today that they were working on some strategies, some ideas that I don't know that I'm going to repeat in case people are listening. But I'm excited. There's some role change-ups tonight, and it should be pretty interesting.
I think the biggest one to note, too, from last week, this week, we're going to have Brooks Bear in for Matahuski, and it looks like maybe that's going to be in the support role, could shadow in the DPS role. From what I remember from the passing, Brooke on the goal team from last year, definitely a skilled player, has the mechanics if you need it. So really looking forward to see how UNI is going to change it up this time.
Yeah, I'm interested as well. I think we've also got Nate, Mr. Sir Claps, swapping off the support and going to DPS tonight. Going to be playing a little bit of hit scan. I don't want to say more than that, but it will be interesting to see because normally he does pretty well on the Kiriko. So we'll see how that switches things up tonight. As far as like gameplay changes go, there hasn't been any new patch or anything since the last week. And we didn't really see any crazy new picks last week other than May. We saw a lot of the other team play May last week when they played against Northwestern Purple.
Yeah. And that's the one thing that I'm going to be expecting to see today, too, is if the Terrapins did any of their homework, they know that they got to pick Tracer, and they know that they got to pick Wu Young. So I would really like to see in the starting selections maybe ban Tracer and then ban Wu Young, so you get like 2 maps out of that selection for that synergy that really tends to hurt UNI Panthers. But with this change up, maybe it's not going to be affected as much now that you have Brooke coming into play. It's really hard to kind of decipher here early on.
Yeah, especially when we get into bans and I guess maps. The bans more specifically might switch things up a lot. So there's a special ban process in this league. Normally in your solo queue games, both teams will vote on 3 characters and then both teams will get 3 characters that are banned for the match, but for this league, it is each team picks 1 hero to ban, and those heroes are banned for that game, and those teams can't pick that hero to ban again. So, for example, if game 1, the Terps pick Ashe to ban, and UNI pick Lucio to ban, Ashe and Lucio are banned for that first game, and then the rest of the games, the Terps can't ban Ashe, and UNI can't ban Lucio, but the Terps could ban Lucio, and UNI could ban Ashe. So it kind of could flip flop. Usually, what we've seen so far is either a Tracer or a Wuyong ban, just because Wuyong's ult with the Tracer is pretty difficult to avoid when he puts it on you and you get triple blinked on.
Yeah, that's really something, and you can't really defend against that other than try and scatter. And if you're UNI in some of these early case scenarios, you're miscommunicating, you're going to get spread, and it's just going to be a team wipe after that. So when we're looking now as these teams pick their maps and bans, I'm actually going to ask you a question that isn't one that I typically ask, because our control maps are going to be Busan, Oasis, Antarctic Peninsula, and Helios. I feel like I ask you one too many times, what your favorite map is. But out of this map pool, what is your least favorite map? What are you banning, irregardless of matchup?
Okay, so my least favorite map is Antarctic Peninsula. I don't really care what we get if I were on one of the teams other than Antarctic Peninsula. I feel like that map, the angles are weird and it always ends up playing out just kind of goofy, in my opinion. As far as hero bans, I wouldn't start banning the Wuyong or the Tracer or things like that quite yet. Maybe I'd start, I don't know, with maybe an Ana or something. It's tough too, because you got to think about how, okay, so the control maps, and then it's going to be hybrid, and then it's going to be flashpoint, and then if we go that far, it's going to be push or escort. You kind of want to think about maybe saving something like an Ana ban for hybrid, because we've seen UNI likes to ban the Ana on that map. I don't really know, though. I think Freya would probably be a pretty good ban for the control maps, just because that area denial, that poke that she's got, can be pretty annoying, especially with how quickly she builds up her ult. I think something like maybe a support ban like Lucio or Juno or maybe Kiriko, something like that might be good to ban on control. Maybe even, we don't ever see like a Cassidy ban, but maybe that, I don't know. What about you?
For me, typically, to go back to the original question, which map would I ban? I'm again kind of in agreement, Antarctic Peninsula, just because I like playing more divey characters, and you kind of need a brawl comp to play Antarctic Peninsula. Of course,
Yeah.
it's just like you kind of mentioned, it's the weird angles, it's kind of the longer respawns. To me, that also just noses out Oasis, just because I feel like Oasis is, it can get claustrophobic pretty quickly, and it's really hard, especially on that first, what typically is the first map. You kind of have like only one area that is elevated, and then you have to jump down, and it's honestly, it's a mess from like a team coordination standpoint. But that's kind of my thing. As for a ban on control, again, I'm perfectly okay with the Freya. I'm not opposed to banning any flanker just on any map, hands down. We've seen in the past the Tracer again. I know I kind of harp on it, but I would open up with a Tracer, just kind of see where you're at, maybe get ahead on game one, and then you can maybe think about getting the Wuyong ban. Do it that way. Otherwise, Sojourn ban wouldn't be that bad if you
Yeah.
pair that up with like Ilios. I feel like there could be a lot of value there, but I also agree, like hybrid, like if you're going King's Row or something like that, maybe a Lucio ban would probably be my call if I was the coach of Purple Team.
Yeah, and I think what we haven't talked about and what matters a lot for the team comps is what kind of tank we're going to see played. So UNI has Roadkill as their tank, and we've seen Roadkill likes to play a lot of Zarya, we've seen some Orisa, we've seen a lot of Ramatra, we've seen a lot of Hazard and Zarya though. So I think both Hazard and Zarya can work on any of these control maps. And I don't really know that they should dedicate a ban to a tank unless we know that somebody on Terps plays something crazy, like they're a one-trick Doomfist or something.
Right. Which I don't believe so. Of course, it's PCL rules that you have to have a public profile so you kind of see who plays what character, unless you're smurfing, which I think that's just outright bannable at
Yeah,
that point. So I would also agree that just banning a tank, I feel like the value in comps are because as a tank player, you're supposed to be skilled at least on 2 or 3 other tanks. Like we see Roadkill tend to swap to the Zarya after he's tried Ramatra or after he's tried Orisa.
yeah,
It's kind of like that counterwatch scenarios that we kind of end up, and usually they devolve into Zarya. So unless it was a Zarya ban, I don't see any value in banning a tank role.
yeah.
Just
I
full
was
stop.
thinking, and I'm sorry to interrupt here. Maybe you and I ought to think about banning Mei at some point, especially on the hybrid maps. Um, UNI has looked pretty strong every week, even though they are 1-3 so far. I feel like a lot of their games have been pretty close, pretty hard fought, and just maybe a Mei ban could benefit them.
Yeah, I agree. The other thing too that you got to think about is maybe so the May ban I kind of like. I would also be curious as even though we haven't seen a lot going into this time is a Juno ban. I would feel like because of the um, orbital ray, not necessarily the orbital ray, but it's the like little hollow ring that she pops up and you have like a speed boost go through. I feel like that would be advantageous to ban on a hybrid or flashpoint map. Push even to that fact. Otherwise, I agree with your May ban. I feel like the reoccurring themes that we see teams play into UNI with success, UNI maybe needs to think about that ban, even though it's not necessarily like, for example, the Terrapins go-to composition. You know, because I'm afraid like they might be really good with, you know, a Hanzo or whatever, and they're not even going to touch Tracer. I still feel like you should ban Tracer on a hybrid or a Flashpoint map.
Yeah, I agree. And it looks like teams are starting to ban. We can talk about that in a sec. But while I do have some viewers here, I'd like to promote Northern Iowa Knockout 3. It's a Super Smash Bros. Ultimate tournament hosted at the University of Northern Iowa. It's UNI's annual Smash Bros. Event. So join us in the Mocker Union on October 25th at noon. That's 3 days from now, and that's important. I'll tell you why in a minute. When players come together and they take part in a variety of modes, brackets, and tournaments. And whether you're a more competitive player or a more relaxed player, there will be games for you. Competitive players who proceed further in the tournaments can look forward to a cash prize, with the top 8 players receiving a payout. More relaxed players can look forward to friendly matches throughout the day, and you're encouraged to bring your own controllers, and people who do bring extra equipment can receive a reduced entry fee, along with people who bring friends from outside the Midwest or people who carpool can also receive reduced entry fees. This event's going to be live streamed with casters. Hunter's going to be there. I am not. I think there will be other people there too. It's a great way for friends and family to support and virtually cheer for your players. It's going to be on the main stream is going to be on this Twitch channel, and there's going to be some additional streams on the other channels. And again, this event is for everyone, all players at all skill levels, both friendly and competitive. Bring your friends or whoever you want to come. So please visit start.gg/tournament/northern-iowa-knockout-3/details for more information regarding parking pricing and scheduling. And registration is open now, but it ends today. So if you are interested in joining the tournament, especially the brackets with prizes, you have to register today. So do visit start.gg/tournament/northern-iowa-knockout-3/details if you want to play Smash Bros in a couple of days.
Yeah,
With that, sorry.
I was gonna say, yeah, while you were reading that, it looks like we got our maps and our bands picked.
Yep.
It's gonna be Oasis as the choice for UNI, and then Maryland will ban Freya, and UNI will ban Wu Young. So that's gonna be what we're gonna be looking into for this first control map.
I think that is pretty standard ban for UNI, just banning Wu Young off the bat. I think it will be interesting for them later on if we see Wu Young later with maybe a Tracer. You know, as we were saying, the Tidal Blast, his ultimate with the triple blink, is pretty devastating. It's also devastating on like a Genji, or we've even seen, I think UNI did it on a Sombra in the past. So we'll see how it goes. Looks like we got a library for our first map here. I think it's called Library.
For UNI, it's going to be Roadkill, Unlasting, Brookbear, Mako, and Circlaps. For the Maryland Terps, it's going to be Breezus, Cam, Yellowist, Pop, and Huntsman. So as we go ahead and start to look at these initial compositions, what are you expecting to see here with the Wu Young ban?
I don't know. Pretty standard. Pretty standard gameplay. I mean, the usual. I mean, I don't think we're gonna see like crazy go in.
We're not gonna see Lifeweaver? Come on.
Yeah. I think it's gonna be. I mean, UNI has already got a Zarya, Genji. Mr. Circlaps is on DPS tonight, so we might see some different picks there. It looks like he's going Tracer. Mako's on the Lucio, and Brookbear's on the Kiriko. But for the Terps, we got Zarya, Reaper, Lucio, Kiriko, and a Genji. So kind of similar.
Yeah, I do like the Reaper pick, just to kind of go into Mr. Circlaps Tracer. So we'll see how that's going to shake out here, as it looks like UNI already going to go ahead, take the high ground. And this Zarya mirror is going to be something to watch out for.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, both tanks and Zarya straight out of the gate. Looks like Reaper's going to teleport up here, look for a little poke, and he's going to have to fall back down. Popeye getting really low here, Unlasting, having to get out. Roadkill finding a pick on Popeye. I think it's Popeye.
I want to say it's Popeye. I don't think it's Pop-E, just because of the double E. But
yeah.
Mr. Circlaps right there with the Tracer, able to get the headshot on Cam. And this Maryland Terp squad seems to be scattered to the winds. UNI will go ahead and get the first ticks. And a big stagger by Unlasting on Huntsman.
Yeah, that's going to be a pain in the butt for the Terps, because now they got to sit around and wait a second to regroup for their Genji. Both teams' ult economy pretty much halfway up. UNI looking a little bit better right now. Mr. Circlaps picking up the 65% on that pulse bomb. See
that's
how it
going
goes.
to be one thing to notice too, is if Mr. Circlaps can get his pulse bomb charged quickly, you can utilize that as a very nice recall comes out from Mr. Circlaps. Going to go ahead, dash back, get the mini.
Breeze is finding a pick on Mako. Lucio's going to be down for UNI, turning it into a 4v5, lacking a support. UNI are going to have to be on the back foot here as Mr. Circlaps goes down, making it a 3v5. UNI just going to try to escape here, but Unlasting wants to go in. It's going to go down too.
Yeah, and that's one thing that we didn't see pop off, is Mr. Circlaps, as soon as he got the pulse bomb, decided to use it. Gonna switch now to the Cassidy, maybe to kind of get more DPS down range. Break
I like
more
that.
Of the bubbles, yeah.
I like that, because when you're a Tracer going into this matchup, you got to think about Zarya bubbles, you got to think about Reaper Wraith form, you got to think about Kiriko Suzu. But here comes a Graviton Surge from Breezes, finding some members of UNI, getting a little bit of value, finding Kiriko. Here comes the Blade from Unlasting, and UNI pick up 4 kills here. Will they make it 5 for a team wipe? I don't know.
It'll be close. It won't be official though on the map, as Huntsman will go ahead and get that one to escape and doesn't get staggered that time. UNI 50% ticked over to the Terps 33.
This is going to be a tough game tonight, Hunter. Both teams are amped and ready to go. Here comes a Blade from Huntsman. Not finding a ton of value because of the beat from both teams coming out. Everybody trying to survive, but Cam finding a pick on Brookbear.
Yeah, UNI's kind of on the back foot here. Already have the point ticked over, and you're just going to utilize that corner if you're Breezes. You have to kind of take that space and give it when necessary, and so far I feel like the map control has been strong in the Terps' hands because of Breezes' bubble placements and where he's placing his Zarya.
Yeah, I wonder if we're going to see Brookbear use their Kitsune Rush here. Okay, Huntsman's going to go down, and so is Cam. I think we can save our ults as a third member of the Terps go down. You and I are just going to walk it in, not having to use any ults. That's pretty good. Almost a team wipe. Oh, it is. Okay. All right.
It's official. First team kill goes to the Panthers. And like you said, Joe, it's going to be a back and forth matchup, and I feel like you kind of alluded to this already as a nice stagger comes out from Mr. Sir Claps on Huntsman. The ult usage, I feel like, is what's going to make or break each point and each map to that. Because so far, you know, with the Zarya mirror, I feel like the flankers on both teams haven't really been utilized all that much, or that's not getting enough value. So I feel like it's going to come down to the power plays.
Yeah, High Noon came out from Mr. Sir Claps, just kind of block people. Here comes both Kitsune rushes. Maybe on Lasting's gonna blade here. Here he goes, dashing in with a grab from Roadkill, finding one pick, finding two picks, finding a third there on Breezes somewhere. It's gonna be a solid victory for UNI in this round one of game one.
Yeah, I think that was the right opportunity of utilizing the ultimates. UNI was able to initiate with Kitsune Rush, really good mirror there for the Terps. And then, of course, Unlasting in the back with the blade ready to go. And at that point, Maryland was scattered to the winds. So it was just kind of a kill confirmed from there. Really good job from UNI from communicating on who they were deciding to take out first. Really great job for the teamwork on the side of the Panthers.
Yeah, I want to say, I think what really made the difference for Iowa there compared to Maryland is that Roadkill had his Graviton up way sooner than Breezes the second Graviton. And I don't know if they realized that or they just saw that they had a good opportunity, but it made quite the difference in that last fight.
Right, Mr. Sir Claps going to go back out on the Tracer instead of the Cassidy, which hopefully you like to see a little bit more flanking pressure when utilizing that Tracer, especially on this map, because you got to deal with the high ground, and it looks like the Terps are going to take the high ground first. Sorry, go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, you're good. The Tracer is just such a tough pick here because of the amount of peel and self-peel that the Terps have between the Reaper, the Zarya, the Kiriko, even the Lucio beat if he's got it. Both teams just going to kind of be brawling here, look for an opportunity to take the point. Everyone's going to need to find a pick. Looks like Roadkill is going to be the pick. Members of UNI are going to have to figure out what to do without a tank here and without a DPS as two members of UNI go down. They're on the back foot. Brookbear trying to run, managed to TP out, but Mr. Sir Claps is going to go down. I wonder if we'll see a swap.
Yeah, I feel like the issue there for UNI was that they were fighting at the base of the high point. They didn't take the stairs up. They didn't contest on the high ground, which I feel like that should have been the right play. And then because they're scattered, easy pick on Roadkill. And when you're down your tank, you just got to press S.
Yeah. On Lasting, making some space with the bubble from Roadkill there. I like that. But there's a Genji in the back line. Oh, finds the pick on Lasting. Wins the Genji battle really quick.
Yeah, that's also going to be another point that I would like to see throughout this series is going to be the Unlasting mirror matchup. As right there, Roadkill able to take out Huntsman, and Cam in the little space has to work out and around and be the front line as a 90% Roadkill still dealing with the Terps. Able to pick up Cam.
Two.
And UNI really needs to press advantage as 50% takes over for the Maryland Terps. And just like that, dominoes, the Maryland Terps slowly go down, and Huntsman able to escape with the dash.
I'm getting a little sick looking at Lasting's point of view there as he's flicking his mouse around.
Yeah, he's definitely trying really hard, get that ADS going, you know.
Oh yeah, he was tracking him really well. I was just like, whoa.
Yeah, so UNI able to go ahead and get the first couple ticks. Nice Graviton surge. Answer for beat. Pulse Bomb comes out as well. This time it's the answer for UNI, or for the Terps, and 4 members of UNI go down quickly. Make that 5. That's a team kill for the Terps.
It's unfortunate for UNI, but the Terps did blow 3 ults to get that done. I mean, we lost the Grav and we lost the Blade for UNI, but we still have the beat. We still have the Kitsune Rush. both great ults to individually push in with. I don't think that you need to use both at the same time, but Lucio ult can definitely save you if there's a blade coming out from Huntsman soon. So hopefully Mako's keeping track of that. I know I would be if I was Lucio, or I'd be trying to at least. Sometimes the game is hard.
I would feel like you would be cognizant that Huntsman still has it, and just like this, Huntsman's going to utilize it. There's the beat, and not going to get any value. Has to walk away. Really good zoning out, but the Tsune Rush comes out from the Terps, and for UNI for the answer. It's going to be a battle there in the choke point. 95% ticked over for the Terps. Breezes goes down. Yellowist goes down. And Cam goes down. Unlasting, able to get it done. And the ultimates all used up for Maryland. Still have Pulse Bomb for UNI.
Yeah, UNI are going to have to be careful here, as I think Maryland has a little bit better ult economy. It's hard to, it's pretty even. It's kind of hard though. I mean, the Lucio beat is what you really got to think about when you have a Genji on your team. So we'll just have to keep that in mind here.
And I would wonder, maybe get the nice pick on Huntsman. You get some value from the Pulse Bomb, really good placement, but you now have to deal with the Terps on the high ground.
Oh.
2 members of the Terps go down. And UNI is going to be cleaning up from here. Wraith is to no avail as Mr. Sirclaps gets the melee on Cam. 75% ticked over for UNI.
I like that Nate stayed and forced the Tracer here. It's actually working out for UNI, but if you're UNI, you got to be really, really careful here, because next fight determines the round. Here comes a grab from Roadkill and a blade from Unlasting. As members of the Terps just get obliterated. There was a beat in there, but it was not enough to save everybody. As another member goes down, it's just going to be Huntsman versus the entirety of UNI. What are they going to do?
Well, they're going to contest right here with Huntsman. Finally goes down.
Here comes the ball.
The wrecking ball for Breezes. And hopefully UNI can go ahead and start taking them down one by one. But I feel like where the Terps got it all wrong was their ult usage at the very end. And Roadkill able to pop off grab, and then you pair that with the blade from Unlasting, get 3 kill confirms after that. And another thing to note too is I feel like the Reaper ult was forced there at the last second from the Terps. Didn't get a lot of value. Would have loved to see that either saved or kind of utilized in a different way, even though Cam's going to get the kill confirmed, or the kill cam here. But still, I feel like UNI just did a really great job at transitioning ults and won them the team fight.
Yeah, I think Roadkill's edge on Breezes that game with the Zarya v Zarya matchup is honestly what turned the tide most of all. In both round 1 and round 2 of that game, UNI had a earlier grab than Breezes did, and I think that made quite a difference. You know, they were talking in their group chat today about having impactful graviton surges, and so far looks like that's going on. I'm sorry to leak the DMs saying that, but
oh my gosh,
is what it is. So going into game 2 here, Hunter, we are looking at some hybrid. Now for hybrid, we've got Numbani, Kings Row, Midtown, and Hollywood. What would you choose if you're UNI?
Seeing what I saw with the Reaper and the Zarya mirror matchup, I feel like you could take the 1v1 on Kings Row. I feel like that's something that you could do, especially if you have Roadkill play the Zarya, because I completely agree with you, Joe. In the mirror matchup, Roadkill does edge it out just a little bit because of that life sustain and sustainability. Of course, Brooksbear was on the Kiriko, could get a lot of value from Kiriko on Kings Row. If I were to pick anything else, maybe Midtown. I feel like we haven't seen enough dive come from this Maryland Terrapin squad to, justify a full dive comp. So maybe UNI's more matched up there. Would really like to see a Roadkill Sigma. We haven't yet to see that this semester. I feel like that would be a good selection there. Otherwise, a Ramatra on defense would be fairly good.
Yeah, but we've seen Roadkill pump on the Ramatra before, you're right.
Yeah, and that's why I feel like because out of the three main ones that we see, I'll just be honest, Roadkill kind of lacks in the Orisa department, especially on defense. So I would kind of err if we're going to pick Kings Row and UNI starts on defense. I would err on the side of him just playing straight up Ramatra, playing for the choke rather than do play Orisa and play around the statue. That's my personal opinion as a third party observer. I don't know what your thoughts are on it, Joe.
Yeah, I think you and I mean, it's gonna be Maryland that um picks the map here. Uh, I don't know. I feel like UNI tends to struggle a little bit on hybrid, especially in the second half of the game.
Mhm.
I don't know. How do you feel about that one?
I I would be okay with it. I would just be more cautionary about composition and be more cognizant of kind of placement, maybe.
Yeah. Um, really
I
quick,
don't hate it.
I do want to talk about Rocket League, if you'll give me a second. If you guys are Rocket League fans, we're looking for teams to take part in this year's Northern Iowa Cup. It's the only Rocket League tournament in the state of Iowa, so whether you're a casual player teaming up with friends or a competitive college team, you can show off your skills against some of the best Rocket League teams in this state. Online qualifiers are free to play and kick off on November 1st using a double elimination format, and teams are encouraged to stream their own qualifier matches. The top 6 teams will move on to the in-person finals on November 8th at noon in the Mocker Union Gaming Lounge. Finalists will have a $30 venue fee and compete for a $150 grand prize, and there's a payout for the top 3 teams. And the in-person matches will be streamed live on the UNI Panther Esports Twitch channel. So steal that boost, score that shot, and be victorious. Registration closes 3 days prior to the first match at midnight, so pretty soon registration
Yeah.
closes. You can head to start.gg and search Northern Iowa Cup for more information on that. A reminder, if you guys like Smash Bros, the registration for Northern Iowa Knockout ends today, so head to start.gg and search for Northern Iowa Knockout 3. Um, and
Also,
yeah.
Panther fans, if you want to stay connected with Panther Esports, just type !socials. You'll get access to all our social medias. Catch game times and scores on X, hang out with players and fans on Discord, or relive your favorite moments through our YouTube VODs. So don't miss out and stay up to date with Panther Esports on and off stream. Just type !merch.
Have they picked yet?
They have not picked yet. I think they're still talking about who gets map pick.
All right. Well, they
And
talk about it. What's up?
I was gonna say, I go ahead, do your thing, Joe.
I was just gonna say, Panther fans, UNI Panther Esports needs your help. We're on a mission to raise $10,000 for 6 new PCs. It's pretty ambitious, but lots of gamers and students dream of being able to play games and show off their skills in the best way possible. And in order to do this, they need the proper gear. But modern game requirements for PCs and associated gear tend to be relatively pricey, and it results in exclusivity. And these new PCs could fix that and give potential competitors and students the edge they need to perform at their highest capability, or they could be the first steps for other students. And that's not the only stuff that a donation would help with. Every donation would help level up our lounge capacity, host more tournaments, build community, in addition to helping future esports generations right here at UNI. Every donation helps a dream come true. And we cannot do this alone. Simply type !donate to get access to our Give Campus link. Every dollar counts, and we thank you for your general support. Go Panthers.
It's one thing that I noticed too, or that I've heard from Brewer Dog, the president of the organization. The student org committee is actually going to match $4 amount. So the Panther fans out there only need to raise $5,000 just to meet the goal. So it's even more possible because of this match campaign that the foundation is going to do. So think of it in your mind that if you donate $1, it's actually $2. Or if you donate 5, that's actually 10. So it gets magnified because of the match program. So any amount helps. Would really like to see you support Panther Esports and give an opportunity for these gamers.
There's other ways to support us. We don't get direct support from our merch, but it is a great way to represent us. If you are interested in that, you can type !merch or click on the button. It'll take you to guardianproline.com/collection/northern-iowa-panther-esports. There's t-shirts in there, jerseys in there, sweatshirts. You can customize the jerseys. They're a lot cheaper than, say, an NFL jersey. Otherwise, if you guys can't donate, if you can't buy merch, make sure to follow the Twitch channel and visit our other socials like Hunter mentioned, and put a Go Cats in the chat.
Yeah, so it looks like we are going to be going on Kings Row. I do see that one ban is Kiriko, which obviously that's fine and dandy. Also a note, there is a personnel change for the Maryland Terps. It's going to be Perry in for Popeye.
Harry the Platypus.
Perry.
Sorry.
we're all with the cartoons here this morning. If you got my Be Our Guest from Beauty and the Beast from earlier. We're all about animations. So
Yeah, we'll see what
we'll see how that's going to change things up. Of course, we saw Brooksbear on the Kiri, which I do like the Kiriko pick from Brooksbear, and very well played in that first map. So banning Kiri is going to then force now maybe potentially a Wu Young play, especially if Unlasting or Mr. Circlaps is going to go with the Tracer again, either one or the two. You could definitely get that very overpowered triple blink combo going. We'll see. I don't know what the third ban or the second ban is currently, but I feel like they're still talking about it. They're actually now in the group chat, ladies and gentlemen, putting direct quotes from the rule book.
Yeah, they're trying to figure out what's going on.
They're trying to figure out what is going on, especially in these later maps. I feel like every team, and this is what we found out, Joe, is that every team interprets the rule set every little bit different. Like every little word is interpreted just a little bit differently. So it's going to be interesting to see how they're kind of shaking it out. Of course, someone just mentioned that the rulebook is very inconsistent, which I think we all can be in agreement here. Because I think the question was posed to at one point skins. I don't think you can pick skins. Like you never were able to pick skins in the NECC. I don't know why you would be able to pick skins now with the PCL. So, well,
Yeah.
we'll find it out. All I know is that Kiri is one of the two bands selected. So, with that in mind, do you have a least favorite hybrid map, Joe?
Of the maps in the pool,
Yes.
So they had the choice of Numbani, Kings Row, Midtown, or Hollywood. It would probably have to be Numbani or Midtown. I think Kings Row and Hollywood are just classics in my mind. I mean, I guess Numbani kind of is too, but I feel like there's some sight lines and some angles that make Numbani really awkward. Like the cap point at the beginning, I think it's really awkward to take. Like if everybody goes down below, then I feel really cramped. And like if they have something that does AoE damage, like a Junkrat or I don't know, anything that can explode us all in there, I feel bad. And it just feels like all of the entrance points on Nubani are really choky. They're kind of
Yes.
like that on Kings Row too, but I don't know. It just feels different on Kings Row. Midtown I don't like as much just because it's newer and I'm not quite as used to it. I feel like there's some weird stuff that goes on Midtown. And if I were UNI, I would not pick it. I don't think that they picked this map. I don't know. They're working it out in chat, but I was thinking this whole time, Hunter, what is the over under for you on whether or not a team is going to pick May here in this game 2 hybrid match?
Oh, the over under. I feel like this would be a yes no. So I'll take the no over, no and a half over. Um here, Joe. I don't feel like that's something. Maybe first point, I'll admit. The first point you can definitely see in May. We've seen it in the past. So, okay, maybe I'll change the answer from I guess no and a half over would mean a yes, or would that mean no?
Well, I'll give you my take if you don't mind. I think it's
Absolutely. What are your
relatively
thoughts?
likely for either team. I don't know what the Terps play, so I don't know if there is a May player on their team, and I don't know. I don't think Unlasting plays May, and I don't know if Mr. Sir Claps plays May. So
I was
I
gonna
don't.
say it's not gonna be a UNI player.
Yeah, I don't know, but it is. I think the May pick is really, really, really powerful on these hybrid maps because they are so choke pointy, and you do only have one tank in the 5v5 environment who has to make the space for you. It's kind of free value to me, just putting up a wall in between the tank and their team. I mean, if their team's really good at breaking the wall repeatedly and has some stuff that May doesn't like playing into, like maybe a Zarya or I don't know, something else that May doesn't like playing into, then maybe swap the May. But I feel like just because of the terrain of these maps, May just gets free value, and because they're
Yeah,
choky aside from the wall, you just get free value from the blizzard. So I don't
yeah.
know.
See, and that's why I feel like it'd be more valuable on defense than to say offense, because then you're just kind of, eliminating your only way forward if you are playing May on attack. But then if you're gonna play May on defense, I would lean more to use Orisa, just because then whatever gap that you leave open for the other team, you can just harden and hold that even shorter choke point. Uh, I like the May, and we saw Northwestern utilize the May very well in the hybrid map that they picked. I just don't foresee that being in UNI's toolkit.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. But going into this game 2 here, it looks like they finally figured out the rules and what's going to go on. I don't know what conclusion they came to, but it's going to be King's Row, the Christmas version, so it's going to be
Still
festive.
too early for Christmas. I'm sorry.
I I agree. Halloween hasn't even happened yet.
Yep.
Um, and for bans, it looks like you and I are going to go ahead and ban Reaper. And then, did you say who the Terps banned
Maryland
before?
has the ban on Kiriko. So
Okay,
it's going to
so
be a Reaper ban, Kiriko ban.
okay, and that means that Freya and Wuyong are going to be available in this game too. Uh, I don't know if we'll see either Freya or Wuyong. I think maybe. I don't know. I don't know. I
I
think Unlasting is going to stick with the Genji, and maybe
Yeah.
Huntsman's going to stick with the Genji too. They were both getting a lot of value out of it.
See, and I wonder if the Freya ban from Maryland is just them seeing it from other teams first. I wouldn't necessarily think that they would play Freya, especially with the type of compositions that they've been playing, which has been a little bit more of like a mirror match for you and I. And of course, the skill level is very similar to you and I. So I don't know if Freya is going to be necessarily in their toolkit. But with the Wu Yang being available, I would almost expect that to be selected. And so then you can pair that up then with an Ana, like I think you mentioned in the pregame, or I could see what else would you like to see paired up with a Wu Young? I mean, Lucio probably wouldn't hurt if you were on attack.
Yeah,
It's really hard. Maybe a Juno? I would pair a Juno with that.
I don't know. I feel like anything could really work with Wu Yang. I think it's more dependent on other characters that can get in there for the title blast, or I think that's what it's called. So I don't know. Like I feel like the Tracers, the Genjis, maybe even Sojourn. I think, okay, Reaper's banned this game. I'd say maybe him, Sombra, and then for tanks, maybe Doomfist Ball. We don't see this many of them, but like Hazard, I think those could also be good picks for the Title Blast. I keep calling it that. I think that's what it's called.
Yes, I believe so. Let me
It
double
is Title
check.
Blast.
Yes, it is Title Blast. So maybe we'll see more utilization of Title Blast and pair that up with the Mr. Circlaps Tracer. And here we go. We are in map 2 finally here, Joe. UNI currently up 1-0 in the series, looking for that magical 3. And here we go. Christmas in London.
It's too
And
happy. It's too damn happy.
There's snow. Okay, it was cold today here, Joe, in Iowa, and it was frigid. I like how it reminds me of fall. Snow, however, before Halloween, no thank you.
Yeah, and you and I are going to be on the defense first. I will tell you what their comp is when they walk out of the doors. We see a lot of teams like to swip and swap picks, so I'm not going to go read the attackers picks quite yet, but looks like you and I are going to roll out with Unlasting on the Zarya again, or excuse me, Roadkill on the Zarya again, Unlasting on a Hanzo to start here, Mako on the Lucio, Mr. Circlaps on the Freya, so double arrow characters for UNI's DPS, and Brookbear on the Ana. Meanwhile, on Maryland, this is subject to change, but it looks like they're going to go with a Ramantra Breezes, Cam on the Cassidy, Yellowist on the Wuyong, Perry on the Ana, and Huntsman on the Widowmaker. A lot of teams like to go with that Widowmaker at the start and then maybe swap off, so we'll see what goes on.
All right, and here we go. I really like the Ramatra pick out here for the Maryland Terps, as we will go ahead and the first up to bat is going to be Breezes trying to get through the choke point, and they're going to work around the statue, but Unlasting able to get the headshot on Cam. A very nice early pick for UNI.
Yeah, that's huge, not just because of the stagger potential, just because it's also not, Cam's not getting ult charge, so he is going to be not on the same pace as the rest of his team, and UNI are going to have that advantage. Oh, Roadkill taking a lot of damage. Roadkill going down to Breezes, Unlasting finding a pick on Cam, and Yellow is finding a pick on Mako. But that's going to make it 3 versus 4 in favor of Maryland here as they are pushing onto the point, making it 2 versus 4 as Brookbear goes down to Breezes. It's going to be what's up?
I feel like the issue with UNI there is that they just kind of got separated a little bit too early. They kind of were too greedy on that first pick, and I feel like it was just kind of spread out from there. As Roadkill able to go ahead, get the Javelin kill on a member of the Terps, but just like that, it's going to be a first point secured for Maryland.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Hunter. It looked like UNI are not exactly playing on the same page here. It looked like some people wanted to go up above and press the attack, and it looked like some people wanted to press this payload and go for a recap here, but not everybody was on board, and not everybody was together, and you just end up with a stagger. So we'll see what goes on. I mean, it looks like UNI are going to be able to make it up to a choke here as Mr. Circlaps finds a cheeky headshot onto Huntsman. Both tanks on Orisa now.
Yeah, I do like the swap to Streets phase here as the Dragon comes out for Unlasting. Gets some zone out. Mako finally able to pick up Breezes, and catching at the tail end is Huntsman on the Pharah goes down. Nice little shot from Mako with the right click. And a really good defense here on Streets phase, something that you don't normally see in competitive play.
Yeah, really good job by UNI. Able to retake the cart with just a Dragon Strike and some good positioning. I like that. It sounds like maybe UNI heard me in a spiritual way and kind of wrapped it together a little bit. We'll have to be careful though. We have to keep an eye on the Breezes Zarya. That's going to be really strong against UNI's comp right now.
Yeah, that's something that you got to worry about because you're not mirroring the Zarya, so you got to deal with a high charge Zarya already at half HP. UNI's going to have to focus that as Roadkill finally goes down to Huntsman. The flanking Pharah in the back line going to go ahead and try and look for a few more as UNI scrambling without their tank.
Yeah, it's going to be tough because UNI is lacking in the hit scan department to deal with the Pharah and to deal with the Zarya. You got Hanzo arrows, Lucio sound bullets, the Sojourn stuff, like all of this stuff that Zarya can just get free charge off of. His Huntsman finds a pick on Unlasting. Might see a swap here. I don't know. Cam's got his Deadeye. He's going to roll forward and use it. He's using the cart. Does a little bit of cover here. Oh, and he gets toothpicked by Roadkill to get it canceled.
He's going to be stunned out, and B comes out from UNI. Orisa can't quite get any value as you corral them together. Breezes goes to half HP, and here comes the Pharah ult. Able to find Brook, and 0.4 is the push for the Terps. They finally go ahead and get Streets Face secured. Breezes with a double kill.
Yeah, Breezes is killing it on the Zarya right now. I said a couple of minutes ago, we got to keep an eye on them. And it seems like maybe UNI also has to keep a better eye on the Zarya here, as just constantly charged, constantly charging at you. Very scary. Also got to keep an eye on this Pharah.
Yeah, that's something that UNI, even though you have Unlasting, you're mainly focusing the front line with Unlasting on Hanzo, but if you can get the picks on the Pharah, that would be the main plan, I feel like, to zone out.
The Dragon Strike.
Dragon Strike comes out from UNI, tries to create some space for that corner. Roadkill, though, does go down to parry. And here comes a grab and Wu Young ult. And that is a team kill for
That's gonna be
the Maryland Terps.
Yeah, pretty devastating for UNI. We see the swap come out to the Ramantra, but I think it's too little too late, as Breezes is fully charged and just melts Nate as he comes out of spawn. Both teams going to be fighting right now. UNI swap to the Tracer on Lasting, getting a little bit of value by pushing Maryland's backline and making some space, but Breezes is left to deal with Brookbear in the 1v1, and they are going to win as more members of UNI fall. The cart goes over and pushes all the way in.
I completely think that the issue for UNI that time was just their Orisa comp, and of course you see it open up with the Zarya, and you couldn't stop the Breezes Zarya. You get some really key picks, especially starting off, but I feel like UNI was just on the back foot the entire time because you had to deal with the front line of Breezes, and that gave the Pharah way too much verticality, way too much space, and then that opens up to picks. You had to deal with Barrage at a very inopportune time if you're UNI, and UNI just didn't have an answer. So I feel like if UNI going into attack here, you were able to kind of let it sit at about 3 minutes, and you had a couple good holds, but I feel like you got to be a lot more efficient on offense this time if you want to have a shot.
Yeah, I think UNI need to be a little bit more responsive to the counter picks, and I think, you know, once they got it together after that first push, I think just being responsive to the counter picks is a pretty important thing here. I mean, the Zarya, you can't be playing 3 people into Zarya that can discharge her so much, but nothing that can kill her and kill the Pharah. Like, it's your attention is too divided, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like that's the crux for UNI, is that if they get their attention drawn elsewhere, it's kind of an easy pick from that. You don't really have the communication ability quite yet to kind of reconvene and regroup. But maybe they can get something going here on offense, as we do see Roadkill on the Zarya. So it is going to be the Zarya matchup.
Okay, and I wanted to point out, Nate was on the Widow, finds a pick, turning it into a 5v4 in favor of UNI. They have to press that advantage, Hunter. They got to start pressing W and going in here. Oh, as they find another pick. Nice shot, Nate.
Yeah, really great headshot, and I'm glad we were able to get that on camera. Good job, Prod, as UNI is going to go ahead and try and take out Breezes. Left all alone, finally gets the melee kill for Mako. And UNI, easy so far on this first point.
Well, they got to be careful here, Hunter, because there's someone behind. It's the Earth person. As Venture flanks from behind, manages to make it out, having a little fight with Unlasting in the hallway here. Right click coming out.
Toph, the Earth person. Yeah, no, I'm sorry, but yeah, no, that's something that UNI had to kind of be cognizant about. Of course, they were able to go ahead and get the first point. Now, if I was UNI, Breezes does swap to the Ramatra, so something that we should have seen earlier, but really would want to see them kind of press the advantage here, as the ults for the Terps are starting to tick up here.
Okay, now I want to point out that Brookbear went with the Lifeweaver pick, and I think that was pretty strong. Maybe thinking about countering the Zarya grab with the platform, but there's no more Zarya, so we'll see how it goes. Unlasting finds a cheeky pick on Cam, making it a 5v4 for UNI. Here comes the Infrasight coming out from Mr. Sir Claps. A little bit of a grab from Brookbear onto the sleeping Zarya. We like to see that. Unlasting is in there. He's low, but flanking. We got the Venture up top. Not really looking to commit anything. Lots of ults ready in this game, or about to be ready. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, as Huntsman gets the pick on Mr. Sir Claps, maybe we get to see a couple. Of course, here comes the Blade now for Unlasting. He's going to be in the back line. He fights one. Thank you, I'll have another. Annihilation comes out in response from the Maryland Terps, and it's for naught. However, the Venture pick, the Earth Person pick, kind of in the back line for the Maryland Terps, and Breezes goes down, so a really good stagger there. Good job for UNI utilizing their ults.
Yeah, but not overcommitting. We still have 3 more ults for UNI to go. Mako can just sit on that beat for a lot of different things coming out of Maryland. I wonder, I think you could probably beat before the Tidal Blast actually goes off. So if Mako's listening for the reverse the tide or whatever Yellowist is going to say on Wuyong. But here comes a grab coming out from UNI, finding huge value. But Cam with the Deadeye, managing to find 2 picks on UNI. That's both supports down. UNI going to be on the back foot as Roadkill goes down here. Looking for Unlasting in these back halls. You got to run, bro. He's up top. He's making it across.
He's Venture gonna go ahead, try and get the reflect. Can't work as Yellowist able to get the follow-up, and I feel like where it all went wrong for UNI there was just the reaction play by Cam. Really good Deadeye set out on a low squishy HP pair of players for UNI.
Yeah, but Hunter, the Venture is behind right now. I don't know where they went, but they've got the Terraformer ult. Okay, the Tidal Blast onto the Venture, still not ulting yet. Members of UNI are stunned. Here comes the ult from Venture. Just gonna hide immediately. I think that might be a waste, as most members of UNI were already kind of dying. So we'll see how it goes. Mako was not able to get an effective beat off there.
Yeah, Maryland's doing a great job right now, kind of cycling through those ultimates and able to get a pretty strong defense here on Streets phase. I would maybe elect to see Mr. Sir Claps use that pulse bomb kind of on a squishy, get the initial pick, and I feel like
he used it. It didn't find any value. He just used it.
Oh, that's unfortunate. As UNI really could have used that. Of course, Unlasting now with the Blade. Maybe get some value there. And here comes the Blade.
Yeah, they got to keep an eye out on this Venture.
Yeah,
sorry, I cut you off there,
Unlasting goes down. Mr. Sir Claps able to take out Yellowist, but I agree. I think the Venture is going to be the win condition during the Streets phase.
Yeah, the Venture keeps taking the same route too. They just keep going up top, keep just crouching up there, waiting for members of UNI to pass by. And as soon as Unlasting goes and forces them out of there, they just kind of sneak back up there and wait again. So UNI need to keep an eye on that. They got to keep an eye on Breezes here with Annihilation up. They're going to use it. Try to keep UNI at bay, but Roadkill doesn't care. He's staring at Breezes in the face. He's punching. Maybe he cares a little bit now. Give him some space. And here comes a Deadeye. Finding Mr. Sir Claps. 3 members of UNI are going to be down. 4 members. I don't know what UNI needs to do here, Hunter, but they need to do it fast. They've only got a minute left.
So the swap to Widow, I feel like, was to maybe take out Venture kind of from the high ground, but that's too much of a patient play character. What I want to see right now from UNI is I need to see Dive, you need to get past Venture, or you need to focus Venture. Venture usually plays off on that high spot. Maybe see a Freya. I feel like the defense on Freya from UNI was very valuable, got tons of value from that. Could be an option here for UNI as well. Also, UNI is playing very separated. They are not communicating where the squishies are, they're not walking past it, they are not focusing on the Venture, and I feel like that's what's costing them here with less than 30 seconds to play.
Okay, so the early beat comes out from Mako. I think maybe that should have come out one of the last team fights because now Yellowist has the Tidal Blast ready to use, but UNI tried to make some space with that beat and it just was to no avail. His members are dropping like flies here. Unlasting is going to go in and find a cheeky pick onto the Wuyong before the Tidal Blast comes out. That's huge, but Cam is just hammering away at him on the other side. Huntsman going to be getting a deep terraformer onto UNI as the clock ticks down, and round 2, or game 2, excuse me, goes to Maryland.
Yeah, I feel like what the Terps did a really good job there is just kind of utilizing that DPS duo and taking what UNI was giving them. And what UNI was giving them was a very separated kind of team. And when you have a player who's all in your face, like Venture, and you kind of get the picks with the Cassidy, kind of with that DPS down range, I feel like that's their issue. But big shout out to Enlasting, able to utilize the Hanzo as long as he could. And UNI had, in my opinion, a really good defense. I just feel like they couldn't piece it together on offense, which I feel was the issue.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like I think maybe some I don't know what the right word for it is, but just remembering like that Venture took the same route every single time, and UNI would clear them out, but like they wouldn't. I
They
mean,
wouldn't
like,
punish.
yeah, I mean, like it would be like, okay, Venture's not up there, we're gonna walk up, and then it's like, okay, Venture's attacking us from behind again. So I don't really know what the answer to that is, but I think that the answer is there because that even though Venture wasn't always getting picks, they were a lot of the time. Having somebody constantly in your back line making your supports not look forward at the people who are making space is pretty devastating and stops a push pretty quickly. And I think that Maryland knew that. I wonder if going into game 3, we might see UNI ban something like Venture. I don't know though. I feel
I would
like
agree.
also, I feel like also towards the end of the game there were, I think, a couple of team fights where Mako was saving that Lucio ult that I think maybe they should have just used. It's tough with the beat from Lucio because it is kind of a more difficult ult to build up and takes a little bit longer. So you do have to make those choices of, okay, if I'm gonna beat now, I'm not gonna be able to protect my team from X, Y, and Z. So it's just kind of tough. I think maybe UNI should have just maybe popped it, or they should have just taken out the Venture when they had the chance. I don't know. It's tough. It's a really tough team comp to play into,
And,
especially what?
oh, I was gonna say, and the other thing too that you got to think about is like because they banned Kiri on Brook, I feel like you get a lot more value in Kiri in that situation, and Brook just wasn't able to
Hmm.
utilize that. Of course, you get a little bit of value with Lifeweaver, but we didn't see Tree at all in either attack or defense. So I feel like there's missed opportunity there, especially when you had to deal with um, the Venture ult of the seismic shock, and
Yeah.
I just feel like maybe that was just UNI's chance to lose because they weren't
Does
utilizing their resources as much.
does
So
Venture's Terra former, whatever that's called, does it go through the tree? Do you know?
I don't
Do
know
you know,
off the
Bill?
top of my head. Not
Okay,
go through tree. Okay.
interesting. Yeah, I like the Lifeweaver pick as a counter to the Zarya, especially. But once the Zarya was gone, we
Yeah.
weren't seeing too many trees coming out. I don't know if we should have kept that. I don't know who else I would have even picked though, to be honest. I mean, we saw some good grips. There's a point when Roadkill was EB sleepy and did get gripped,
He's
but
sleepy.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So maybe some value opportunity there to definitely work on. The other thing too is I liked for you and I to do exactly on defense what the Terps did is during Streets phase you swap to Ramatra. Instead, we kind of forced the Orisa just a little bit too long, and I feel like that's what cost us in the end. And the momentum at that point was just a little bit too strong for the Terps. So I feel like if you get the counter watch going a lot sooner, if you're UNI, and of course, teams historically struggled with that selection too. I know my team struggled with it. I know Bill's team struggled with it when they were on the team. It's just, having the game sense in the thick of it to be like, oh, I have a better swap. Let me swap to
Yeah.
Ramatra. I feel like that's also somewhere along the lines that you need to do. But I completely agree with you, Joe, that maybe the answer is a ban on Venture. I would be afraid to think that maybe Huntsman is feeling themselves on that Venture. And when you're playing a Flashpoint map, you're going to have to deal with some choke points, and you're going to have to deal with some verticality issues too, depending on the map. So I would feel comfortable if I was UNI banning Venture. What's your
Yeah,
thoughts?
I agree. I hadn't even thought about the Venture Wu Yang ult combo,
Mhm.
and I don't know if they did it that game. I think maybe once they
I
did,
think they did it once, yeah.
but yeah, you and I are definitely going to have to keep that in mind. Just a reminder for people watching, the current score is 1-1. If you guys are interested in Rocket League or Super Smash Brothers, we've got some tournaments for those coming up. You guys can head to start.gg/tournament. Okay, the link changes for each one. So go to start.gg, look up Northern Iowa Knockout 3 or Northern Iowa Cup. Should be able to find them both there. The registration for both ends very soon. The Super Smash Bros. Registration ends today. So if you're interested in participating in that, please sign up. Really quick shout out to Melissa. Howdy. And I think going into game 3 here, you said yes, it is Flashpoint. So that means we are going to be playing on New Junk City or Suravasa.
Well, I already know what the selection is, but just for argument, I would actually really like to see UNI play New Junk City. We've seen Servasa one too many times, and we've seen UNI lose one too many times on Servasa. So I feel like just to change things up, maybe you can force a JQ, which wouldn't be that bad on New Junk City. We've seen Roadkill play new JQ before. Get some value there, but it's going to be Servasa, and I would almost be hard pressed if I was Roadkill to just either go outright Zarya or Ramatra to start out. I don't know what your thoughts are here, Joe.
Um, okay, well you know my thoughts, but maybe everybody watching doesn't. I don't really like
Yeah.
I
No,
don't
you
really
don't
like
like
Flashpoint.
Flashpoint, period.
I
Yes.
don't really like either of the maps, honestly. I think it would be a lot more interesting if they just made everybody play Atlas. Uh, have
Yeah,
you
why
played that
isn't
map?
the new. I have not played it, but I don't know why it's not in the pool. Is it just because it's new?
I think so. I don't know. It's kind of a clown fiesta to play. Like it, like Flashpoint always feels like a fiesta, but specifically on Atlas, I just don't know what's going on. Um, but yeah, I think a lot of different characters can be played here. I don't really know what to ban here. I just think that you gotta be working together quite a bit in this game mode, and I'm a little bit worried for you and I, just because we saw that some of their teamwork was a little bit all over the place in that last game at different times. And I think counters are really important in Flashpoint. So if you're playing a comp that is all projectile against something like a Zarya, maybe swap it out a little bit sooner rather than later before you start losing. We got to remember the points take over way faster in Flashpoint too. So losing fights is really punishing in this mode.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. UNI is going to go ahead and get their ban out on Venture. So
We were
congratulations.
right.
We looked through the magic ball and we were right. It's
Yes,
going to
we
be a
did.
Venture ban. And if I was the Terps, I would maybe think about banning. Let's see. Prior bans have been Freya and Kiri, so it's their turn to pick Wu Young if they want to ban that. Which, granted, it is Flashpoint. I don't think they would, but I would also maybe think about banning Tracer or Cassidy.
Yeah, I think those are both good bands. I don't know. I feel like Flashpoint, really anything could happen. We've seen some Sombra come out from UNI on the Flashpoint from time to time. I don't know if you mentioned, you may have, and sorry if you did, UNI are going to sub out Totoro for Brookbear. I think that's in support. I don't know.
Well, typically we've seen Totoro play as that second-hand
You're right.
DPS,
And
typically.
we could see the Nate Kiriko come out again. So
I would
that's
love
kind
to
of hype.
see the Nate Kiriko, and then you pair Mako on either the Wu Young or the Lucio. We've seen Mako have a fanabulous. I'm making an entire new word for how good Mako's Lucio is. I
Yeah,
saw,
and
I saw you laugh.
it looks like uh Maryland is going to agree with you and go ahead and ban the Lucio there. It looks like they are kind of tired of playing against Minko's Lucio, and I don't blame them. And it looks like we are going to have a crash from Maryland. So everybody sit tight for a minute. While
So
we're
yeah,
sitting tight, I
yeah.
could tell you about our merch. If you want to represent us, you can go ahead and click on the merch link, type !merch. It'll take you to our merch site. You got t-shirts, jerseys, you can customize those, sweatshirts, and polos and stuff. I already talked about Northern Iowa Knockout and the Northern Iowa Cup. If you guys are interested in Rocket League or Super Smash Brothers, do go ahead and go to start.gg and search for the Northern Iowa Cup or the Northern Iowa Knockout 3. If you guys want to donate to us, you can type !donate, and every dollar helps a dream come true. And you said that it was matched, right?
Yes, it is matched. I think it's the Alumni Association or the foundation's going to do a dollar for dollar match up to $5,000 for this campaign.
Awesome.
So every dollar is $2 if you think about it. I think that
Yeah.
maths.
Yeah, and all those donations really do help. I know that when I went to UNI, sheesh, it was a while ago. I graduated in 2020, so 5 years ago. The lounge was nothing like it was today. Like it was, I think
I
that
don't
there
think
was
they
only
really much had one.
yeah,
at
there
that
was only
point.
like a couple of computers, like maybe a handful of consoles. I don't know. But since then it's grown quite a bit, and so has Panther Esports, and it's awesome because everybody cares about it a lot, and it's really cool. But I just gotta say, I'm a little jealous of
I'm
the
jealous
current
too.
lounge. Yeah, I mean it's awesome. It's awesome, especially with I said before, modern games get
Yeah.
pretty like the games aren't pricey. I mean they kind of are, but their computer requirements are steep, and that results in pricey hardware. So
Right.
it helps if there's like everybody can't afford that, so it helps when there's like a lounge that has that in there.
Mm-hmm. And it's basically like a community within the union. Like it's a union within the union. You can study, you can
Yeah.
hang out, you can play games, you can talk with people, you can read a book. It's literally just a central hub for Panther Esports and Panther Tabletop to get together, share a community of a shared interest of gaming and board gaming and virtual gaming all in one really open, welcome community for everybody. And if they can expand that capacity, it only makes the club better. So
Yeah.
every dollar counts. But here we are, Joe. We're in Servasa, game 3, and we're tied in the series.
Yep, 1-1. Looks like you and I are gonna roll out with a Zarya, Genji, Reaper, Wuyong, and Kiriko comp. In Maryland are gonna go with an Orisa, Sojourn, Wuyong, Kiriko, and Tracer comp. So I just looking at it on paper right now, I think UNI has got a little bit of an edge in the comp because of the Zarya pick
Absolutely, and I would expect a high charge Zarya
into
to
the
kind of
Sojourn
start
and
zoning
Orisa. I
out.
feel like that's just free damage. Sorry?
Absolutely. No, I was just saying, it's like you got to worry about a high charge Zarya. Of course, you have a Tracer in the backline of Huntsman, but UNI can go ahead and focus that pretty easily. As already, Mr. Circlap showing the Curie, but Totoro goes down to Cam, gets the overclock kill, and Breezes takes out Unlasting. So the first pick usually causes the first loss of the team fight, and UNI is trying to escape out of there. Roadkill finally goes down.
Almost made it out of there. Orisa kind of shoved him up to the high ground. He barely did not get out, but UNI are going to lose that first point. As you said, that first pick turns into a cascade of problems for the attacker team. And so, and I mentioned this before, the point ticks up so much faster in Flashpoint. Maryland's already at 28%, so UNI have to lock it in here, have to find a pick and not go down.
Yeah, they got to engage and engage quickly. They got to be efficient with these team fights, and you got to utilize your space around it. As we see here, Perry goes down low. Cam, though, able to get the pick on Mako. Unfortunately for UNI, however, Breezes goes down a little bit, and Kitsune Rush comes out for the Maryland Terps. 62% already ticked over, and UNI is down their tank, and they are scattered to the winds. One by one,
Yeah, they are.
UNI goes down.
Yep, scattered to the winds is the perfect way to put it. Is kind of everybody on UNI died in a different place there. I think that there is one silver lining for UNI here, even though they don't have that many ults to work with. The Kitsune rush from Perry there, I feel like was a little unnecessary, but I mean, it secured them the point, so it is what it is. We're going to see an overclock coming out from Cam. Kind of keeping UNI at bay, not finding too much direct value here. Maybe some value, I guess you can say, as Yellowist finds the pick on Mr. Circlaps, Kiriko there. Ooh. A lot of ults coming out from Maryland.
Yeah, well, when you get those early picks and you just kind of compound from there, we really need to see UNI utilize more of their ults. They have 3, gonna be 4 in their back pocket that they can utilize for the second point. And I feel like this point here is specifically good for a Zarya. Initiate with Kitsune Rush. If UNI can go ahead and start pairing up the ultimates like we saw in game 1, UNI could probably bring it together here.
Here comes a Kitsune Rush from Mr. Circlaps. I think it's important to not blow our ults here as a blade comes out from Unlasting. Here's one, maybe another. No, he goes down. Mr. Circlaps going to find another pick on Huntsman though, so it is going to be a 4v3 in favor of UNI. Breeze is going down, and Mr. Circlaps finding a triple kill. That's Nate's Kiriko, baby. That's what it's all about right there.
That's what it's all about, of course. Mr. Circlaps able to go ahead and get it done, and the kunai, just absolutely dangerous. The damage fall off is a long distance away with the kunai, and a really great job by Mr. Circlaps popping off with the mechanics.
That was a pop off. I think UNI, I don't know if Totoro ulted, but I know Unlasting ulted and Nate also ulted there. UNI's ult economy is looking pretty good here as Roadkill is going to be grabbing the Zarya, and Totoro is going to find a pick on them. Unlasting finds the pick on Huntsman there, so just a 5v3 just to wrap off this point really quick. I like that for UNI. Does not really give Maryland any chance to build up their ults there. I like that solo ult on the tank. It's not bad.
And you get a stagger, and 75% ticked over already for UNI, like you mentioned it, Joe. The control points here tick up a lot quicker, so if you can get a stagger, that's almost a point confirmed.
Final blast going out on the Roadkill here from the Wuyong. Finding 2 picks, Mako, nice ult.
And with that,
they are
going to get on point. But Unlasting able to go ahead, take out Perry. Overtime still ticks over just a little bit. Reflect comes out from Unlasting. And now it is the Terps' turn to scatter to the winds. We are tied 1-1 in map 3.
Yep, but much like UNI being scattered to the winds, and now the Terps being scattered to the winds, UNI came back with a bunch of ults. Now the Terps are going to come back with a bunch of ults. So I wouldn't be surprised, Hunter, if this point goes in favor of Maryland. It kind of just swings back and forth. But in that time, UNI has got to be really careful to not throw it. But they're doing a great job as they find a pick onto Perry in his own Kitsune Rush. Perry the Platypus getting taken down as Roadkill is going to be pressing the advantage here. He goes down 4v4 right now. Unlasting taking some damage from Cam's Sojourn. UNI getting pushed back a little bit on the back foot. They don't have Roadkill. Here comes an overclock from Cam. Just making space for the team. Not finding too much value other than just making everybody on UNI hide. Nate going to be fighting for his life in the 1v1 here. Is he going to make it out? I think he is.
Yeah, of course, UNI had the right idea there. You get the first little pick, but then you got to deal with the ults, as we see here. The Wuyong Tidal Blast comes out into the Kitsune Rush of UNI. Doesn't find as much value, but UNI still able to pick up 3 members of the Maryland Terps. Go ahead, get on point, and Unlasting able to dash and right-click into Breezes, and UNI able to go ahead and get the ticks now for them.
Hunter, I need to just point out how well UNI is playing with very little there. They managed to kill Perry through the Kitsune Rush without having to pop one of their own ultimates. But then afterwards, they were able to retake the point only using the Kitsune Rush. They've got the grab, the blade, the overclock ready to go. They got a Tidal Blast coming up. And Maryland only have their grab coming up here. So it's looking pretty good for UNI as long as they don't toss it in the grab. Okay, here comes Roadkill's grab. It's going to find everybody. Oh my god. Everybody's getting melted except for Perry. Running away on this Kiriko. Totoro looking nice.
And Mr. Sirclap's able to pick up parry. And that's the exact thing that I was going to say. Very good job for Roadkill with the mind's eye to be like, okay, this is where the Maryland Terps are going to make their stand in a very condensed spot. And you only use one ult in that situation, Joe. High efficiency from UNI. They still got 3 in their back pocket and 95% ticked over on this point.
Okay, the Maryland's going to get a touch here. I think this is maybe a mistake by them. I think maybe just letting them have the point is in order, but on Lasting, he wants blood, so he finds 2 picks. Meanwhile, Roadkill finds 2 picks, and Mako gets the team kill. That's good for UNI.
Good for UNI. I do caution that they did utilize the Wu Young ult as well. Didn't get as much value there. However, you get Roadkill with the double kill, so you get some value. I would just be kind of cognizant now that UNI, you just have Overclock and you have Kitsune to Maryland's Kitsune and Pulse Bomb. So you've got to be cognizant. You got to play together, but not too close because of that Pulse Bomb. Initiate for Kitsune, rush for UNI, the answer for the Terps as well. Totoro has Overclock if he wants to use it. Unlasting goes down, therefore activates the Overclock for UNI. Gonna have to space it out. This Breezes trying to work around the point.
Point's gonna tick over for UNI here. Huntsman's looking for a good pulse bomb here, Hunter. I don't know if he's gonna do it.
He's looking for it. He's just not getting a really good opportunity of 1 or 2 groups, but you do go ahead, get the main kill on Roadkill. Trades out by Mr. Sirclaps, and Totoro with the full Overclock, able to take out Breezes.
Meanwhile, Totoro's staring at this Reaper here. It's just him and the Kiriko, or sorry, in the Wuyong trying to cap the point here, but Reaper is going to go down and be a big stagger. Okay, here comes a title and the Tracer combo onto UNI, but they were ready. They were split up and they only found 1 stun, but they weren't able to get it. But here comes a grab from
in the
UNI.
Pulse Bomb.
In the Pulse Bomb. Both grabs came out. Oh my god.
Yeah, able to pick up 3 members of UNI. However, no one was there to follow up for the Maryland Terps. 82% charge for Roadkill, and he's looking for more. Really great job. 90% ticked over for UNI, and just, it's the reactionary play that UNI is doing so well this turn. Overtime does tick over, but a big pick on Huntsman. UNI gonna look for Cam. Unlasting able to get 2. Forces the ball. Kitsune Rush comes out from UNI, trying to get the point confirmed. And Unlasting's in the back line, trying to get the pick on the Wu Young. And able to get it done. UNI will go ahead and take map 3, 3-1.
I think, Hunter, as long as UNI's got their teamwork locked in, they've got this. They looked a little shaky at the start of the game, but nowhere near as shaky as Maryland looked at the end of that game 3. I will tell you, it looked like groups of 2 and groups of 3 on Maryland were working together, but never all 5 the same way UNI were. And I think UNI keeping that triple blink with the tidal blast from the Wuyong and Tracer in mind, especially towards the end there, and splitting everybody up, but everybody was still playing together and instantly came back together. That was so good by UNI.
From my perspective, I feel like the tipping point was when Roadkill grabbed basically the entire team of Maryland. At that point, then you kind of start the beginning of the end, because you then swap the ult advantage into your favor. UNI had 3 in their back pocket. They were able to utilize, 1 or 2 from there. Of course, there was a little bit of overusage on that same point, but Maryland just wasn't able to catch up. And then you lead into your example, Joe, of you have to deal with the Tracer triple blink with the Wu Young ult. UNI does a great job at scattering, and then they come back together to basically play on the point. Communication was great. Execution of ultimates was great. UNI currently with a 1-game advantage in this best of 3 series, going into a critical game 4.
Yeah, it scores 2-1 right now. Going into this game 4, we're going to be looking at push. Now, we haven't gone here every week, and we did not get this far last week, but every week other than last week, we've gotten here. And UNI tends to play okay or tends to not play okay. I don't know. It's kind of hit or miss for push for them, but I think most teams are hit or miss for push because it is kind of a hit or miss game mode. For push, we're looking at Coliseo, Esperanza, and New Queen Street. Personally, I do like Coliseo. I also like, actually, I kind of like all three of these push maps. Uh, push is kind of a
Well,
tough game mode. What's up?
I was going to say, well, it all really depends on your play style, on which map you're going to select. If you're going to be like UNI and you're going to go with that brawly comp, but have like the hit scans, like the Hanzo or the Sojourn, definitely going to pick Coliseo. If you like more of a dive comp, you're going to like the verticality of Esperanza. Or if you kind of want to play a pseudo dive, flash with ball, maybe let's see some diva in there, pair it with a Lucio, you're going to more favor New Queen Street just because of the weird angles and chances for flanking in that opportunity. If I was you and I would pick Coliseo because that's just our tried and true. It's basically our King's Row for push is Coliseo.
Yeah, I would agree. I think Coliseo is a pretty solid pick. Everybody knows it, but keeping in mind how you do have to win more than one team fight to start pushing the bot further and further, I think that is going to be where UNI needs to lock it in, because we have seen, and also Maryland, we have seen that the continuous losing is tough for both of the teams to deal with tonight. So when UNI started rolling Maryland in the last game, it seemed really hard for them to come back together as a team and take down UNI. Meanwhile, when UNI started getting rolled over and over on Kings Row 2 games ago, or yeah, whatever, in game 2
Yeah.
tonight, it was pretty tough for them. So I think keeping your mental in check as a team and keeping that teamwork in order going into this game 4 is going to be pivotal for a winning team tonight. Uh, and
Absolutely.
we'll
And
see how it
as we're
goes.
going into this game 4, a whole host of personnel changes are coming out. Popeye is coming back in for Yellowist. Bacon going to be showing up for Perry in this matchup. So going to see some different things from the Terps here. And Brooke is going to sub in for Mako. So it's going to be
Okay.
probably a Mr. Sirclaps Brooke play into what potentially could be a Coliseo matchup, which I don't necessarily hate that, but might as well get all your players in who are here.
Yeah, and talking about games for this, or bans for this game through 4, I don't think we've seen Maryland ban Kiriko yet, have we? I think it was you and
Let's
I who
see
banned Kiriko.
here. It was actually Maryland who banned Kiriko in
Oh,
map
okay.
2.
So I think that's pretty huge for you and I. I wonder if that was something that maybe they were thinking about, because I mean, I don't think I'm going out on a limb when I say this, that Kiriko is Mr. Cyclops' best character,
Yes.
and it's not even like, oh, I mean, like they're really, Nate is very good at Kiriko, so I think that is a huge boon for you and I going into this game 4 here. But we are going to see a Zarya ban from UNI, so it looks like they've had a little bit enough of it. You and I hinted it at.
You and
You and
I
I,
are
yeah,
sick
yeah.
of
Well, we hinted at it, maybe doing it earlier on in the series, and I would agree, maybe don't ban a tank earlier on in the series, but going into this game 4, maybe we are going to want to ban a tank. So you and I are going to ban Zarya, and I did not see who the Terps are going to ban for their hero.
the Maryland Terps decided to ban Tracer. So you have to be
Interesting.
kind of curious about that. Of course, what I'm now worried about if I'm you and I is that if you get the ban on Zarya, you can't play Tracer. So what's that going to lead into? I'm afraid that might lead into a Venture Wu Young combo that I'm afraid you and I won't be able to stop. But we're playing an
Yeah,
Esperanza.
right.
I'm not
Maybe
entirely
Cassidy could
sure
help
what's
with
going to
that.
be.
Ooh, roadkill
Yeah,
hovered Brig for
Cassidy.
a second. Maybe that could help with that.
Okay. I would
We've
love
not
to see a
seen,
break pick.
yeah, we've not seen like
But
any Brig. I'd like to see it.
But that makes sense against a Venture. I feel like you would need some CC to stop Venture flanking. And then
Yeah.
if you then pick, like, say, for example, Hanzo or a Cassidy, I would love to see Totoro's Unlasting. Or Totoro's Unlasting. Excuse me. Totoro's Cassidy, because you get so much fire down range. You pair that with the perk of the long shot, and you
Mhm.
basically then have all these straight points narrowed out. And here we go. We're going to see what both of these teams are going to pick. I don't know what the final comps are going to be, but flashing Totoro on the Doomfist?
I don't think any of that's gonna stay.
I
Okay, here
we're
I'll
getting
say
5
another
seconds
reason.
in here. Joe.
Another reason I liked the Brigitte pick is technically Brigitte can press her shift ability. I don't know what the ability is called, but the thing that shoots out and pushes people away. You could theoretically push the guy with the tidal blast on him back into his team, and it wouldn't get any value. So I kind of think that might be kind of cheeky, but it looks like Totoro's gonna stay on Wrecking Ball here.
Okay, but I like the Wrecking Ball pick. You get a lot of mobility and verticality. The issue is that you're playing into a hazard, so you got to worry about some CC. You got to worry about Cam on the Reaper, and Huntsman now playing is the one playing the hazard. So we haven't seen the play style yet of Huntsman on a tank. So that's something that's new for both of these teams. And already 2 members of UNI go down. And we're going to have UNI win 2 team fights if they want to go ahead and get back into this. And right now, Joe, they are scattered to the winds.
Yeah, I think UNI might need to maybe go back to the drawing board on a tank here. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Just watching, I'm really confused at what's going on. So I imagine it's also very confusing to play. And that is maybe not what you want.
Yeah, UNI is going to have to coordinate the pile drivers so they can go ahead and get the value on the Unlasting Cassidy. And roadkill on the Bastion, I don't like this pick, quite frankly. The Bastion doesn't play well into a Reaper, and UNI just seems to be dealing with this never-ending kind of stagger, what's going on right now.
Yeah, and because it's push, you got to remember that you do have to win multiple fights in a row, especially as you start losing more and more. So it's just going to get harder and harder for UNI to come back here while they just build up ults, both teams. UNI are losing in the ult build-up economy too.
Yeah, I would almost want to think that UNI needs to swap. I would maybe go Sigma here, go back to the Ramatra, go back to what you know. It's been working if you're UNI. You're up 1 in the game, excuse me, as you just get picked because you're being soloed out. UNI is not playing together at all right now.
Yeah, they are getting absolutely rolled. I think some changes need to happen. I think that Bastion needs to go. Sojourn maybe say Wrecking Ball. I'd say just ult and get off of it, but I don't know. I don't really play Wrecking Ball. Okay, here's the ult.
Yeah, Cam's gonna go ahead right through. The robot's already gonna go past, so no value there either, and you can't like hook swing into anybody because it's kind of in the back part of the point already. And Maryland has forward spawn. Kitsune Rush finally comes out from UNI. Bacon with an overclock, gonna try and get some value there from distance. Can't, and I'd be hard pressed to think there's only been what, 1 or 2 picks for Terps, like deaths total.
Yeah, the only
one.
death right now was on that guy. Yep.
So UNI needs to swap into something before it's too little too late. You already have to deal with the extended spawn. You're down on ult charge. You might as well just swap now. This is uncharacteristic, Joe.
I would agree it is uncharacteristic, and they really seem to be staying with their characters. Okay, so finally we see a swap from Totoro. I like D.Va a little bit more, but I feel like a Hazard Ditto would be good. I feel like maybe a Sigma would be good, but Bastion just going to be ulting in here. Not going to find any value, and it is going to get picked off by Cam there. Meanwhile, on the front lines, Brookbear is getting dove, and members of UNI are just split up, and not a lot is going on. Not a lot of good.
Yeah, I mean, I like how UNI is kind of experimenting, but that's not what you need to do, and you're probably going to force a game 5 here as UNI is...
Maybe they're just trying to force the game 5, Panther.
That could be a situation, because you are going to then go to Circuit Royale, Route 66 Gibraltar, and just like that, it's a full push for Maryland Terps. It's kind of like stabbing a knife through wet paper. It's nothing that you want to see from UNI here, just how easily they were able to kind of execute that.
Yeah, I don't know if UNI was trying to go for a game 5 or what they were doing, but that was not it. I'm sorry to say. I think they're going to have to go back to the drawing board really quick here before game 5. For game 5, we are looking at Escort, which means Circuit Royale, Route 66, Gibraltar, or Havana.
If I was you and I, first off, I would get Roadkill back on tank. That's what I would start off as, and then
Yeah.
what I would start thinking about is, okay, what of our options here? Of course, we've seen in the past in these Game 5 scenarios, which aren't many, we've seen Circuit Royale, and we've kind of seen them get walked over with the Sigma. Um, they being the opposing team, kind of walking over the Orisa that Roadkill would typically play on first point. I would like to see a Sigma matchup if we decide to go Circuit Royale. I don't know. That was just an uncharacteristic game 4 for UNI, and I just don't know what we should be playing at this point, Joe.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that was kind of a Scooby-Doo split up gang and look for clues kind of comp, and I don't really know what was going on there. I do have to be right back. So sorry about that.
Yeah, no, you go ahead, Joe. I will go ahead and take it from here. I'm actually going to steal Joe's merch read since he's gone. So Panthers, if you want to go ahead support Panther Esports, just hit !merch. That'll take you to our Guardian Pro line store where you can find t-shirts, hoodies, beanies, and a fully customizable jersey just starting at $50. So half the price of a professional jersey. If you want to get a gift for the gamer in your life, holidays are just around the corner. So show your Panther pride, support the club, and grab some merch today. So you and I going to be looking at Escort, Circuit Royale, Route 66, Gibraltar, and Havana. If I was them, I would maybe select Havana and get Roadkill back on the Ramatra. I guess you could do first point. You could do first point Orisa if you really wanted to force it. Could utilize maybe Widowmaker on Havana as well. So those are things that you can kind of think about in that scenario. Welcome back, Joe. Are you ready to talk?
Yeah, I'm ready. Sorry about that.
No, I was just talking about how maybe in this scenario here, I would really like to see Havana be the pick instead of Circuit Royale.
Really?
Yeah, just based on the fact that I feel like if you utilize the current composition on how it's set right now, which it does look like Brooks Bear did get sub-backed in for Mako, or excuse me, Mako got subbed back in for Brook. So what I would really like to see if it's going to be an unlasting Totoro duo, I would prefer to see like maybe a Hanzo Tracer or a Hanzo Sojourn. As we're starting to talk about bans, what would you want to see from a ban, as it looks like we're probably going to go Route 66 here?
For Route 66, I'm thinking about Hanzo ban maybe, because if I'm Terps, I'd think about a Hanzo ban because we saw that on lasting could crank that on the Hanzo, so maybe that's something they're thinking about. I think maybe Ash or other snipers could be good here. I don't know. I don't think UNI wants to ban Kiriko because then Nate can't play it.
So the
Looks like
ban, so I'll make your job a little bit easier. UNI does ban Hanzo for Route
You mean
66.
Hazard?
Or Hazard, sorry.
I think
Does ban
that's a
Hazard.
good ban. Yeah, I think that's an okay ban. That guy was kind of going crazy. Breezes was going crazy on the Hazard during that push game. I don't know. I don't really think it matters what people pick so much this game, Hunter, especially on the side of UNI. I mean, I think it matters a little bit, but I think the teamwork is going to have to be in order. I think like rolling out on stuff like a Bastion into a Reaper and forcing it for a couple lives in a row, or the ball into that and forcing it. I think that those kind of mistakes are going to cause UNI to choke in this game 5.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I think a Freya pick would be good on for UNI here. I think Freya's pretty good on Route 66. Cassidy good. All the snipers are good.
Yeah.
I think Mayo's okay. I think Ramatra is going to be great. Orisa good. Zarya good. That kind of stuff. I think we're going to get a Kiriko again. Maybe Wu
What
Yong again. What's
I
up?
was gonna say, what do you think's your over under on getting a Cassidy pick here
I think
on this map?
I think it's going to be pretty good chance. Uh, I don't know. I think it depends a lot on how divey the opposite team is going to be. I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting, especially because Terps are going to go ahead and ban Genji. So we're not going to see unlasting Genji this game, which is a pretty staple pick for Lag. So I don't know.
Yeah, gonna be interesting to see as we go ahead and enter into Route 66. UNI forcing it to a game 5 scenario, that's gonna be sitting in the back of their minds. I also wonder if that game 4 is gonna be sitting in their back of the mind as well. I just feel like they just don't need to force any unforced errors, and they don't need to overcommit on ults. What we've seen UNI do really well is communicate well, and of course team play is an aspect, but like we saw from Servasa is their ult usage and their teaming up of their ults. If they are able to do that, Joe, I feel like UNI could bring home a win.
Yeah, and everybody should be putting Go Cats in the chat right now. We really want UNI to get another win here, bring up their season record to 2-4 instead of 1-5 or 1 and it's
They're
1 and
currently
3.
1-3, so they would
They want
get
it to be 2 and 3.
2 and 3.
They don't want it to be 1-4. So put Go Cats in the chat. Thank you for that.
And we'll see how that kind of filters out too, because we got to start thinking about playoffs. If UNI wins this one, they're going to have 2 more really tough matchups coming up, but it could key them into a playoff spot if they go ahead and win it outright from here. And here we go. It's going to be game 5 here, Joe.
Yep, UNI rolling out with the Zarya, Sojourn, Tracer, Wuyong, and Kiriko, and the Terps rolling out with the Wuyong, Reaper, Kiriko, Sojourn, and a Diva. We've not seen too much Diva tonight. We saw a little bit last game. Totoro getting pretty low from Cam's Reaper there. Go ahead and back out.
So really like to see this utilization on top of the diner, but you got to space out as it's going to be a dive for Cam and Huntsman. So Huntsman staying on that tank role, and as a Diva player, I just love to see this Diva matchup here on Route 66. You get to zone out a lot of that defense. Unlasting is going to go down, but the unfortunate thing is that you aren't able to defense matrix out the Zarya primary fire. So that's going to be something mindful as UNI is going to go ahead and kind of tactically retreat back to the end of the first point.
Yeah, it's going to be tough here for UNI to contest this. They're all going to be trapped in this bottom door here, and I think Terps comp is pretty good for holding that. They do find a pick on Unlasting. Roadkill D-Max Huntsman, but I don't know if that's going to be enough because you're looking at a 4v5 right now in favor of the Terps.
And any Diva player would say their main is Baby Diva. So
maybe not Huntsman because Roadkill got him. Mako going to be finding Bacon too.
Man, that's just unfortunate. Really good stagger coming out from UNI. And
yeah,
this is something that you got to note too, Joe. 4 ults ready for UNI, 2, almost 3 for the Maryland Terps. Of course, we saw Huntsman now swap to the Winston. So the Winton going to be a factor here that you got to be mindful of.
I think it's a good pick into Zarya. It's okay.
Yeah. I feel like if you're UNI, you look for a good grab in this moment. With 2 minutes left to play on this first point.
Yeah, we're going to see the title blast come out from Breezes, and some picks going to be made onto UNI. There was a Tracer Pulse Bomb from Totoro, but not enough to make a difference, as
not only
it's
that,
just Totoro on the point. Oh, rip.
Yeah, not only that, you use Kitsune Rush there to kind of get the kill confirm on that last point. UNI didn't commit too many ults in that scenario, so I guess you got to applaud them for that. But here on the Streets phase of Route 66, you got to be mindful as Overclock is going to come out for Bacon. or has a full overclock available. And
Grab
here
coming
comes
out.
the grab for UNI, able to pick up Huntsman, but Unlasting goes down. Totoro able to get the trade on Popeye.
Yeah, we've seen Totoro play Reaper before, so I'm kind of glad that they are busting it out right now. Getting the flank onto the Wuyong here. He's trying to run. It's not going to quite find it, but members of the Terps are scattered right now, Hunter. We got one in here. Never mind, that guy's dead. And the others, they're just kind of every direction right now.
Yeah, UNI does a really good job. They need to continue to focus fire and continue to sow the seeds of chaos as they kind of work through their ultimates. Of course, they have overclock. That would be a good zoning capability. But Totoro goes down from Huntsman on the melee, so you got to be mindful of that. Overclock comes out for Bacon, tries to get Unlasting on top of the bridge.
Title third from Mako. Ooh, finds
a-
some value, gets 2 members stunned on the Terps. UNI are going to press the advantage as they are up 3 people now. Huntsman getting really low. Breeze is going to go down. Huntsman should be dead. Yep, there we go. And that's a team kill for UNI.
First team kill for UNI ever since, I believe, game 1. So really good execution there. Good signs from the Panthers. Maybe they can hold on to it just 2 minutes and 25 seconds more here, Joe.
Yeah, we'll see. It's tough because we do have a Death Blossom coming up from Cam. We've got the Winston Rage ready to use, and Breeze is going to be having a title blast pretty soon. But Mr. Circlap's going to use the Kitsune Rush into the Raging Monkey. I don't know if they're going to find
able to
a
go
pick on
ahead
that,
and get
but
the pick on Cam.
Yeah, they do find the Reaper pick. That's huge because now he can't Death Blossom. But Breeze is going to be using his Title Blast, finds some good value, takes out Mr. Circlaps, Bacon finding Totoro. Unlasting, making a little trade with the Overclock onto Breeze's. Roadkill making another trade. But Bacon kills the Unlasting. And it's a 2v2 or 3? It's 2v3 here on the cart. As Roadkill is going to find 2 members, but he's space tanking the Death Blossom. Manages to get Bacon and Popeye. But Huntsman comes back on the Winston. Now it is a 2v4 on the card. 3v4 as another member of the Terps get back. But it's UNI's turn to do it, Death Blossom. They only find Breezes. That's 1 support down. And it is just a back and forth here, Hunter.
Yeah,
In the
absolutely.
second phase.
A big shout out to Roadkill, just face tanking the
I
Death
like
Blossom.
that.
You're grabbing. You actually get a good grab, so a little value getting 2. And it's just kind of a fight back and forth. Both of these teams are so skilled, and it's so entertaining. And now with a minute left to play, UNI does have the Wuyong Title Blast if they want to use that Unlasting at one point. But it's a battle of the high ground. Maryland Terps going to go ahead, take the top of the saloon. And UNI is going to have to work around that.
Yeah, it's a nail biter. As Unlasting is down to 1 HP. Look at him over there. He's hiding. Meanwhile, Roadkill's holding down the line right now. We're going to see Popeye use the Kitsune Rush soon, but no! Unlasting removes him from the game. Mr. Circlap's going to go down, and Roadkill going to go down. Now it's a 3v4, in favor of Maryland, making that a 2v4. We're going to reverse the tide here onto Totoro, not finding any value, but Mako finds the pick on the Bacon. Right now it is a, I think 3v3 on the point. It's kind of hard to tell. We're going to see the Kitsune Rush finally come out from Popeye. Cam finding the pick on Mako. Meanwhile, Huntsman jumping in to stop members of UNI from being able to contest here. Oh, and another Tidal Blast come out from Breezes.
Yeah, as overtime ticks over, Popeye just with 26 HP, gonna have to work in the backline. Cam able to go ahead and get a couple picks on Totoro, but Huntsman on the point. That's your win condition right now if you're UNI as overtime ticks over. But Cam able to take out 2. And as the point gets through there, what an intense Streets phase for this game of game 5, man.
Yeah, that was like
crazy.
30 seconds of overtime. Everybody fighting there. That was pretty tough. You and I are going to be coming back in here, Hunter, with 2 ults ready to use and Unlasting's Overclock nearly ready to use. Meanwhile, Maryland's got their Death Blossom, their Overclock, and their Angry Monkey ready to use. So we'll see how it goes. Mr. Circlap's getting forced off the high ground here, nearly dies, has to use his teleport and Suzu. Huntsman's going to realize that is an opportunity. Jumps in, kills Mr. Circlaps, and is just making space right now. Look at him. Angry Monkey deep in UNI. Totoro getting blasted by Popeye. That headshot with the kunai, very deadly. Cam finding a pick too.
Yeah, Bacon here, again, just kind of zoning out, and I would maybe think as Cam gets the Death Blossom kill on Roadkill, initiate for Kitsune Rush now for UNI, and they will answer with their own overclock. You got to break down that bubble if you want to get any value on lasting. Trying to get some there, and finally gets the click. Gets 2 on the members of the Terps, and he's going to go ahead and push to and past the point.
They're kind of saving it for UNI right there on lasting, finding those 2 picks, able to stop the Terps push. I wonder if we'll see Winston Huntsman dive in here, get that contest. UNI have got to be expecting it. Here he comes. He's on the point. There's the bubble. Kitsune Rush coming out from Popeye.
The huge grab.
Oh my god.
For UNI, this is exactly what UNI needed. Pairing up the ultimates. You get the team kill, and you prevent the full push. UNI's turn to push it the distance.
0-2.
Absolute cinema.
Absolute cinema. I do need to point out, Hunter, while that was great work by both teams and great work by UNI for stopping to get all the way to the end, UNI still got their work cut out for them. They have to push pretty much all the way to the end here. Now, there is no overtime, so if UNI push, they are just going to win this game 5 and to win this match. So hopefully they're able to push all the way there, but I don't know. It's going to be tough. We saw some tough fighting by both teams on that first half.
Yeah, and if there's anything as a litmus test, we got to look back to Kings Row, and UNI struggled during the Streets phase. So if there's going to be a win condition for the Maryland Terps, it's going to be that Streets phase. And UNI had a strong defense, could have been a little bit more efficient, but they were able to get a nice hold there on the 3rd point. They're just going to need to answer. And looking at how things are set up now, you are going to have to deal with the Huntsman Winton. So I feel like that maybe is the win condition for UNI. Focus down the bubble of Winston, protect your squishies, and get efficient, easy team fights.
Yeah, UNI's going to have to keep an eye on the Winston and the Primal Rage. It was a really good play earlier. Winston's eating peanut butter right now. When Mr. Sir Claps TP'd and Suzu'd to try to survive the Winston dive, but then he just primaled and just went in and then caused a lot of mayhem. But UNI are going to be pushed up to this corner here. I like this Pharah pick. Not too much hit scan from the side of Maryland right now to deal with it. As look at the damage and value as they are all standing on each other. Unlasting gets a free pick onto Popeye. That's one of the supports down.
Yeah, and you got to focus that back line if you are on lasting. If you're going to go with this far alt or far play, definitely commit to it, as Totoro was hard scoping that low HP breezes. So you got to be mindful of that too. But UNI doing a great job at kind of zoning out this Terps team, as Cam is down to basically 2 points, going to be able to escape and get some resources there. As Huntsman,
yeah, Hunter, UNI got to keep the teamwork in order. It looked like they were separated for a little bit, but then they locked it in really quick, and they are regrouped. Roadkill, you got to watch out what's going on behind you. Totoro finding that pick on Bacon, super big, removing a DPS from the fight.
Yeah, and you have to deal with these kind of flankers as Cam is able to go ahead, take Unlasting and Huntsman. He's going to have free range as long as you have your Zarya up front, not being able to peel. That Winston is going to play havoc in your backline. So UNI has to be cognizant of the peel on the squishies as well. As we see right here, Mr. Sir Clap's going to have to dash back as Totoro finally goes down on the Widow. And
yeah, Cam is being quite the thorn in UNI's side on this Reaper so far.
Yeah, if I was UNI, I would look to maybe get Cam, like, swap to a Reaper counter pick.
Well, UNI has the combo. They've got the Tracer Booyong.
That is true. They do have the combo if they want to utilize that. Of course, Mako does have his ult ready.
Okay,
and
Tidal Blast coming out from Breezes. And the Death Blossom coming out from Cam. A lot of members of UNI dying for that, but that's 2 ults down for Maryland. UNI have 4 ready to use, or sorry, 3 ready to use.
And that's what UNI needs to do, is they need to start cycling through their ults. They need to get a steady push going, because right now, all the Maryland Terps have to do is play interference. They know the distance that needs to be pushed. They know how hard they need to fight. And as long as they keep winning these staggered team fights, it's okay in their book.
Yeah, UNI are doing a good job of keeping it together, but they are also poking quite a bit. There's a Tracer on the cart right now. I don't think that the Terps realize. I don't know. Okay, here's a grab finding 0 value. That's so bad for UNI. They are going to go in anyways. Kitsune Rush coming out from both teams. Meanwhile, the Reaper preventing Roadkill from going too far in. Huntsman getting caught out of position and dying before healing. Meanwhile, on top of this diner, or gas station, whatever, Mako finds that pick onto Popeye. It's pretty big. UNI are going to make it to this first checkpoint. I believe the cart still has a little way to go. I think.
Well, but is Cam going to go ahead play interference? And we got the Winston who's going to go ahead dive in with Rage. And going to try and space out. But Unlasting able to get a pulse bomb kill on Cam. And UNI gets to push the distance. Bacon going to go ahead. Deadeye, no value.
Sorry. That was funny.
Yeah. That was a pretty good moment there. But the biggest thing to note out of that interaction is UNI still has 2 ultimates to soon to be just Breezes with the title blast, and UNI looking pretty strong going into the streets phase. Hopefully they can maintain the momentum. And they pushed past all the way to the diner, so if they can go ahead, work in through that choke point, I feel like UNI is going to have a strong streets phase. And here's the swap to the Zarya.
Yeah, the Zarya matchup begins once again. Roadkill's going to be having the advantage here because they do have a higher percentage on their ult, but see anything. Okay, overclock coming out from Totoro. But meanwhile, Terps are he's gonna use it on himself, the title blast. I think that's not a good move as he finds not a lot of value at that.
No, and Cam, he's going to be looking to take out Mako in the back line, but Huntsman goes down as well. Totoro goes down, and then Lasting able to take out Breeza. So it's a trade-for-trade situation as it's going to be a 2v2, I believe, onto the point. This is going to definitely favor, it's a 2v3. Grav comes out from UNI, able to pick up Bacon.
Like
He's going to go ahead and try to work around the angle. Kitsune Rush tries to confirm this team fight for UNI as Popeye has to dash out.
Cam has to die right now, Hunter. He's got that Death Blossom. He's constantly a thorn in UNI's side. Unlasting, going in there, getting active, finding a pick on Breezes. That's pretty huge. Meanwhile, Popeye is going to be using their Kitsune Rush. Cam looking at Death Blossom here with the bubble on him. He uses it, but it doesn't get any value as Roadkill picks up 2. He goes down. It is another title blast coming out from Mako this time. And it's just enough for UNI to get the checkpoint.
Yeah, I think the greatest play right there is, again, just the nerve that Roadkill has as Totoro gets the overclock right-click on Bacon. I just feel like UNI did a really good job at kind of maintaining the pressure and not overcommitting ultimates like we are seeing Maryland overcommit. So really good job. It's going to come down to this with 2:20 left to play.
Yeah, it's going to come down to the wire.
Only has to push it 50 more meters. So here we go. Roadkill going to go ahead, and if UNI can get a pick here, especially on Cam, that's going to be a good thing as he's going to go ahead, Wraith out. Biotic Grenade.
UNI's got some ults almost ready to work with. We've almost got the overclock. We've almost got the pulse bomb. Pulse bomb's ready. The High Noon coming out. He's going to get stuck, but the perfectly timed roll is going to save him, but he rolled into the Wuyong and got him killed.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Roadkill again. Gonna go ahead. High charge Zarya. Really like his Zarya play so far. I feel like UNI, even though we've committed a couple ults, maybe initiate with Kitsune Rush here.
You gotta be careful.
Cognizant of that. Yeah.
You gotta be really careful right here. The Huntsman has his Zarya Graviton Surge ready to use, and it could really ruin UNI's push here. So there it is. It's gonna hit 3 members of UNI. A lot of value for the Maryland Terps, but it's not enough as UNI survive. They're gonna be pushing up. The team fight is kicking off. Bacon finds the claps. Unlasting finds Popeye. The Kitsune Rush coming out from Nate before he dies. I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't commit any more ultimates if you're
okay.
UNI
We got
here.
a minute. Yeah.
You did force Breezes to utilize their ult. That is something mindful. Of course, Huntsman initiated with the grab. So UNI gonna have in their back pocket for the next team fight, which it's basically gonna boil down to the next team fight. You're gonna have Totoro overclock. You're gonna have grab. You gotta pair that in some way to get past this Maryland defense.
Yeah, but I think UNI's got the edge here, Hunter. That grab is going to be so big. Maybe we'll see it here. It's up. It's ready. There's no Suzu. It's huge. He finds 2 members. Bubble, not enough to save him. The Kitsune Rush coming out. But Huntsman's going to go down too. That's 3 members of the Terps going down, 4 members of the Terps going down, and it only cost 2 members of UNI. I think that's enough as UNI defeat Maryland in week 5.
Yeah, really great job by the Panthers there. Again, it comes down to the ult usage and just being cognizant of the different ultimates. That was the big factor here. Ult usage, ult usage, ult usage, and being cognizant of the ult game. Both of these teams were matched very well together.
Oh, yeah.
Just on a mechanics base, on a communications base, and I feel like the teamwork that you and I had, communicating ults, able to go ahead and get it done for this Panther squad. So really great win for UNI. That's going to improve them to 2-3. That then puts them in prime position going forward to maybe sneak in to that 4th and final playoff spot.
Yeah. I'm really impressed with what I saw tonight out of both teams, to be honest. There were times where both teams looked a little shaky, but there were times where both teams looked really strong. And I'd say for the most part, both teams looked really strong. That last game was crazy. Everybody was super duper locked in. It's probably the most entertaining game of the night to watch and cast. But I'm excited for next week. Who do they play next week?
Next week, they're going to play an SE team, LSU. So that's going to be an interesting game to maybe, see and play. Of course, LSU Tigers are currently 2-1. I do not know what their game tonight, how that shaked out. I can go ahead and definitely find that. So definitely another prime position. Maybe you and I can use this momentum and look to get another win against the Tigers. And then you got to deal after that in week 7. You have kind of a juicy matchup against Cal State San Bernardino. So you got to deal with the Yotes at that point. They're currently 2-2. Their matchup is hasn't been played yet against the Tigers. So for those of you with access to PCL, that would be a match to maybe think about. But UNI able to get their win and able to move on and advance and get ready for potentially a playoff position.
Yeah. Really quick before we get going here, just want to remind everybody, if you are interested in playing in Northern Iowa Knockout 3, the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Tournament, the sign up stops today, or ends today, rather. So go to start.gg and look for Northern Iowa Knockout 3. There are some prizes available for the top slots, and the sign up for the Rocket League tournament, Northern Iowa Cup. It is the only Rocket League tournament in Iowa, by the way. That ends very soon too. That is going to be on November 1st. So I think the signups for that end on the 28th or the 29th. So if you guys are interested in those, make sure to head over to start.gg, search for Northern Iowa Cup, search for Northern Iowa Knockout 3. And if you're interested in supporting us, please type !donate and help us reach our goal. It'll give you the link to our Give Campus link. And if you guys want some merch, you could type !merch or click the merch button. There's t-shirts, jerseys that you can customize, polos, beanies, and yeah. Otherwise, make sure to follow and put a Go Cats in the chat.
All right, so with that, UNI is going to advance to 2-3. Next week, they're going to play a very juicy matchup against the LSU Tigers. So going to be interesting to see how that game's going to play out. And then after that, you've got another juicy matchup with Cal State San Bernardino. So really interesting to see where the Panthers can take it from here. They've improved so much in both team play, composition, kind of like what Joe mentioned in the pregame. They were kind of in the lab in the text chats and tried new things and executed it well.
Yep. Thank you guys for coming out here. Thanks, Hunter, for helping cast, and thanks, Bill, for running production.
Absolutely. So With that, that will end us here. Catch us tomorrow for the Valorant team. They are going to be playing against, actually, they're playing against Maryland. So we're going to see another matchup with the Terps. So hope to see you tomorrow. For Joe in the booth, Bill in production, my name's Hunter. We'll see you next time. And like always, go Cats.
Go Cats.
For the losers bracket, but I have high hopes for these guys. Colin goes to the backboard, double touch, and he gets it.
He's got sight and a good pick. Another good pick. And another. He's going crazy with it.
Oh! That was disgusting.